Welcome to the Stars Align Dramas and Dreams podcast, where the infinite sky meets the starry world of dramas. We're your guides through the cosmos, from heart-stopping queer love stories to straight dramas of unexpected love.
And every unforgettable moment in between that make us swoon, laugh, and cry. And, of course, we'll sprinkle in a little stardust along the way.
I'm Nixie, your drama enthusiast, ready to break down the best and sometimes most chaotic storylines, filming techniques, and the worlds we can't stop obsessing over.
And I'm Cyrus, here to delve into characters, themes, and symbolism that invoke emotions that resonate with us in powerful and lasting ways.
Each week, we'll explore the stellar journey of love, identity, and connection, one drama and one dream at a time. Today we orbit the series Satellite, where we discuss everything a series has to offer. Our satellite this week is orbiting Perfect 10 Liners.
So, gather your stardust, find your spot under the stars, and let's dive in.
Let's begin by taking a look into the stars, where we take a closer look at the synopsis that captivate us and the stars on and off screen who make every moment shine. Join us this week as we stargaze into the captivating world of Perfect 10 Liners. But before we can stargaze deeper, we must start by discussing the basics. Perfect 10 Liners is a 2024 Thai BL produced by GMM25. This show can be watched on YouTube, and it has 24 episodes with a duration of 55 minutes, which makes it approximately 22 hours long.
The synopsis reads, first-year students draw lots to determine their peer mentors, and by a stroke of fate, Arm lands himself in the exclusive circle of Perfect 10 Liners, a group comprising extraordinary students from various years. With Yipun as his second-year peer mentor, Yipun entrusts him with the formidable task of managing the Engineer Cute Boy page, a widely popular online platform. Despite his reluctance, Arm performs admirably as the page's administrator. In response to many fan requests, he uploads a photo of the third-year civil engineering student Ark, unaware of the prohibition against doing so. Not knowing the admin's identity, Ark sends a harsh message demanding the photo's deletion. Detesting Ark's rudeness, he develops a dislike of Ark before learning that Ark is his third-year mentor. Despite his reservation, Arm finds himself interacting with Ark with some frequency, for mentorship and otherwise. What Arm doesn't know is that he is being let into Ark's inner circle because Ark was smitten with him at first sight.
On his first day of university, disaster strikes Gun hard. Helpless as he is, Gun manages to break a bathroom faucet. Fortunately, a classmate comes to his rescue. Amidst the chaos, however, Gun doesn't get a look at his savior's face, just catching a glimpse of their shoes. Eventually, he tracks the shoes to Faifa and expresses his gratitude. As they get to know each other, Gun realizes it was actually Yotha, Faifa's older Irish twin brother, who he should be thanking. Gun can't sleep in the dark due to an unfortunate childhood incident. This is a problem for his roommate, who can't tolerate sleeping with the lights on. Yotha, however, has no such issue and offers to switch places with Gun's roommate, as he rarely returns to the dorm at night. Yotha keeps his promise, disappearing after dark and returning in the morning.
Wine becomes the latest member of the Perfect 10 Liners through the lucky draw. His second-year mentor is preoccupied with his boyfriend, leaving him with little time for his mentee. Stepping in, friendly Faifa takes over the role and looks after his older brother's mentee. Faifa learns that Wine recently ended things with Toy, his girlfriend before university, after developing feelings for her older brother Tor. Now that Tor has come out as attracted to men, Wine is hopeful but unsure about approaching him. Faifa volunteers to serve as Wine's practice ground, allowing Wine to hone his approach before making his move on Tor. Adapted from the novel set Engineer Cute Boy by Jitty Rain.
That's an insane synopsis.
It's so long.
To the point that we ended up breaking our normal who reads what to just go back and forth.
We had to break it up somehow.
That was wild. Also, something that I find so interesting every time because I've read the synopsis a few times, for once before the recording for this, and something I find so fascinating is the only couple that I think the synopsis, for the most part, lines up with what is said for them is Ark and Arm.
I agree.
Because, for starters, Yotha did not give his room up willingly.
No.
For Gun to share it. His brother Faifa just said, "Oh yeah, I switched with someone, by the way, and you have to put up with it."
Yeah, that was not how that went.
Not at all. Not at all. Like, he was okay with it eventually, but it was still kind of funny because he was just like, what? in the world just happened? Because like he had no consent, no say
No,
in that
absolutely not.
happening. And it makes it sound like he did. Like he was like, hey, you have problems. You can use our room because I don't hardly come
Never
home,
here.
right? And that did not happen that way, which is funny to me. And then with Wine and FIFA, it's the part where okay, so actually this one's a little bit more I take it back. The one for Wine and FIFA is a little bit more accurate, but it's
Yeah.
off because like of the fact that Wine never intended to ever hit on Tor
Yeah.
in the efforts. It was all FIFA, which I reread the synopsis just now and I was like, you know what? It didn't say anything about Wine's goals of going back to Tor. It was because of FIFA stepped in to be like, yeah, so you and his thoughts of being able to. So I guess
Yeah.
that makes it a little bit more accurate. But that's so funny to me. Because I did go in with a completely different mindset of how it was going to play out because of the wording choices of the synopsis, and then it doesn't come out that way.
Also, just as a whole, this feels very Jitty Rain.
It does. But I will say, I think out of all of her works, I do think they have grown a lot more.
I agree, yeah.
This one, the previous ones she's always done silly stuff, but I really like how this one there's something about it that you can see how I'm assuming this is something that has been written later on than the other ones, or at least one of her more newer editions, and maybe not just adapted as recently instead. You know what I mean? Or at least it feels like it, unless that's just because the screenplay adapted it this way instead.
Yeah.
It feels more matured, like she's grown in the stories she tells.
I would agree.
The stars that guide Perfect Ten Liners shine brightly. Let's meet the cast and crew who make it shine. This show has 3 main couples. We start with Fort Jirachapong and Buk Kasadet, who plays Ark and Arm. We also have Pert Tanapong and Santa Pongsapak as Yotha and Gun. Finally, last but certainly not least, we have Junior Pongchai and Mark Jidonhanin as Faifa and Wine. The director is Nu Siwat, who has also directed titles like Seven Project, both of the Stars and Sky titles, A Boss and a Babe, We Are, and Forever You. He also was a director and screenwriter for Until We Meet Again and a director for Between Us as well. Intira Tanasan Samorit was the director. She also wrote Star and Sky, Star My Mind, Between Us, A Boss and a Babe, and We Are. The cinematographers were Lilan Sadin, who also worked on Star and Sky, Star My Mind, What's Up Man, Between Us, A Boss and a Babe, We Are, and Forever You. Sai Chon Tisha was the other cinematographer, and he has worked on We Are and Forever You.
And while there were a lot more talented people who worked on the show, we unfortunately do not have the time to talk about everyone. But we would like to further highlight some of our thoughts about the cast and crew.
So, this is a little off topic, but I do want to say something I noticed is that it's interesting to me that the spelling for Wine's name is spelled like the English word wine, to the point that I also think there's a joke in the series where one of the friends misunderstand. Yeah. But weirdly enough, did you notice that when FIFA got a call from Wine, it's spelled Vine?
Yes.
And I remember noticing that, and I was like, that's so interesting. Because, like, I already knew that V's typically come W's because there's really not a V sound in Thai. But I don't know. I think it's interesting that for a name that in English spelling for us is wine. But for them, it still got wrote down as vine. And there's a joke about the wine thing. So, like, it's weird that, and interesting that they chose in the context in the show to be saved as Vine.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
And I know that's a little off topic, but like it's just based on the spelling because I saw it, we were reading the cast thing and the synopsis. So I just wanted to say there's that.
Really the only thing I really had to point out that I made a mental note about was the fact that it the way this show felt in the context of it being an ensemble show is it's really apparent to me that a lot of the people who worked on the show has had previous experiences working with the ensemble cast, like on ensemble shows and such, because I think it's done in a manner that feels, you know, well done in comparison to some of
For sure.
the earlier titles, ensemble titles that is. We got Seven Project, a lot of them worked on We Are.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen Forever You. I just know that it is also supposed to be an ensemble cast.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
We set the stage, and now it's time to delve deeper into Perfect Ten Liners. Spoilers ahead as we start with Drama Deep Dive.
Let's jump into a drama deep dive, where we navigate and analyze key scenes, character arcs, plot twist, and emotional gravity that pulls us deeper into the stories we love. There are quite literally 3 different
Yeah, I was gonna say,
types of
are we
stories for the
going
most part.
are we going story by story? Like plot line by plot line? Just a little discussion of each.
I don't know, that's a great question. Which one should we start on? Maybe we could just start with the first one.
Yeah, I was say it wasn't a question of where we start, because like
I
chronologically,
was
of
being
course.
silly, okay?
Okay.
Be silly with me, Cyrus.
I don't know how to be silly.
Get it together. Starting with Arc and Arm.
I love them.
They were precious. I like the person Arm becomes
Mhm.
over time.
Yeah.
Because, like,
At first, he's just a silly little guy, and then he becomes a silly little guy with responsibilities.
for sure. And, like,
And by responsibilities, I mean just meddling in his younger juniors' lives.
I was so here for that. Man was like, oh, you like this person that's in my group? Well, okay. We can make this work.
Like, you're breaking tradition, but I'm here for it.
Man just loved love.
Oh, absolutely.
And was always here for it.
In the cutest, most supportive way possible. One thing about their story, though, is I really thought that Arm being the cute boy admin was going to be a bigger
Mm-hmm.
deal. I was like, I
Me
was
too.
keep waiting for it to like blow up, and it never did.
Did Ark even find out?
That was a question I had. I just didn't want to like say it and you be all up in my face and like, yes, he did.
No, because like I don't remember that. I was also waiting for that to get exposed and maybe he get mad about it, but then it never did, or at least I don't remember it being exposed. Unless it's like an aftermath thing, but like why would you put that in part of the main synopsis
Mm-hmm.
and not come back to it? So I'm kind of confused. Unless the only purpose of that part of the synopsis was that he becomes one of the admins for it, but it's the idea that he ended up having a disdain towards Ark in the beginning, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
that was the important thing about it, was just him getting a first impression of Ark negatively instead of positively, and Ark kind of not realizing that that was what started off their relationship kind of rocky.
Yeah, I could see that. I still feel like it's a little odd, but
It is,
I
but
could
it
see
could
that
be.
being like the purpose of it, you know?
But like that's the only thing I can think of.
That's fair.
Also, this man, for someone who was always here in the later 2 stories to ship other people together, this man was so
So
oblivious
oblivious.
of
Yeah.
Ark.
Because, like, let's be honest, Ark was not subtle.
No, not at all.
Arm was just dumb.
Ark was just Arm was just Arm,
Yeah.
which was truly interesting.
But we love. I'm like, I feel like I may catch some flack for this. Maybe directly from Nixie.
Uh
But, like,
huh.
I truly think that Arm and Ark are my favorite Force book characters to date.
I guess that's fair. I
There's just
mean,
something
I
about
don't think
them.
they really play any different from their previous characters, other than Book. I feel like has become more and more silly as his characters in his series. As they go.
Hmm.
Um, Although they weren't only friends, and I don't remember
I actually haven't
Was
seen Only
handsome.
Friends, so I can't say that with complete confidence, but I'm pretty sure. I don't think Only Friends is gonna sway me.
I take that back though. I think book was a little less silly or anything like that. For sure. Now that I think about it, in Only Friends, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I don't remember too well their personalities in that one. But definitely, I don't know. I I can't agree or disagree because I don't know my brain. Even though I've seen several, like I've seen 4 series with them, but I don't think I 100% like have. I don't know. My brain has never really thought too hard about that.
I don't know, I just love them in a different way than I've enjoyed their previous roles that I've seen.
That's fair. Weirdly enough, I don't think I have a lot to say about their story.
Yeah, I feel like Arc and Arms is the most straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
and like it was very enjoyable to watch. It just there was more meat and potatoes to the latter two.
You're really selling the southernness of us. Meat and potatoes. Wow.
What do you want me to do? I am who I am.
Bread and butter. Man, we're bringing all kinds of southern slangs to our podcast.
It's not like we hide it. It's not like we can hide it.
I think it's in our accents. But yeah, I don't have too much to say about that. At least in this section, I can probably go
Mhm.
more into their characters. But story plot wise for them, I don't have much to say because like you said, it was really straightforward. It was kind of simple. Like in a cute, really enjoyable way
Yes.
for sure. Like I enjoyed it a lot, but it was just straightforward. And
Mhm.
so therefore I don't have a lot to say.
Wait until we get into the brothers, and Nixie will go off.
Which, you know what? Speaking of that, let's move into it because we have nothing else to say about Arc and Arm. Then guess who we get to go in next? To one of the brothers. We get to go into Yotha. Look, I'm obsessed with the brothers in their stories. Like, I'm so here for it. I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into like character things for
Mhm.
them because that's in the next segment.
Yes.
But I love. Okay, so just Gun and Yota's story alone. I like we have 2 different levels of trauma.
Mhm.
Actually, both deep for the most part trauma. I will say I'm a little upset. I would have liked more of Gun's trauma.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we got a lot of him, like, in the terms of, like, him having his nightmares when, like, the lights would go out. Like, this poor man, they could not catch a break. Either his
No.
floor, the lights would go out, or even in the movie, when he switched into Utah's room, the lights went out. So, like,
Yeah.
this man could not catch a break. I swear. But at the same time, in terms of, like, his fear, I would have loved more, but we did like and how it was solved, but like it got cleared up relatively fast in
Mhm.
the end.
Yeah.
And I was kind of upset by that because versus Utah's like he develops over the span of the time on
Mhm.
him learning how to love because he had cut his ability to love because of his trauma in his family with his mom, the divorce and everything. And so and his abandonment issues. So like
Relatable.
he didn't want to love again. And so you see him slowly like pick up on that. Which, by the way, for someone who didn't want to love again, man knew how to flirt and had some high ass riz. Just saying.
Well, I mean, he did have like the whole game of like, if like I've got to deal with this trauma, I'm going to make other people realize how horrible love is. So he kind of had to like hone the skill as he went along.
That's fair because like he did use it in bars and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and that's where he got in a lot of troubles because like the not exes, but like the people who he made break up with their boyfriends or whatever would come and come track him down. But no, but at the same time, the amount of riz he brought on Gun was insane. Because like, what do you mean that this man like that? For starters, I I can't with the fact that Gun started realizing that he had feelings for Yota, who clearly, even though he was just trying to, because of his past relationship, not even his mom relationship, but like his past relationship with Wa, had to later turn around and try to figure out if what he liked Gun for was love and not just temporarily kind of thing. And which was insane because watching this man absolutely be in love with Gun and not realize, like, he kind of like had like a feeling he was, but like he just like I said, he had to go through a whole period towards the end of it to figure it out. But it was the like for example, like the scene where I'll never forget when Gun starts realizing that he likes Yotha and and he goes and he gets pulled to the side by Faifa and his other friend. Oh, who was it? Dang. What was his other friend's name? Oh, the one that ended up single in the end.
Oh, Poe.
Poe, yes, Poe. Gets pulled to the side by Poe. Is it Poe? No, Poe was Book's friend. I take that back.
Who's the actor?
Was he?
I
Yeah,
can tell
Poe
you.
was Book's friend.
Yeah.
No, yeah, Poe was Book's friend because, oh, dang it. What was his friend?
It's Un's character, right?
Oh, he had several friends. Kong! That was his friend's name. Kong. I didn't mean it like that.
It wasn't the way you were like, oh, he has several friends.
I kind of forgot about the other two.
It was hilarious. Oh my god.
I'm sorry. But anyways, he gets pulled to the side by Faifa and
Kong.
Kong. I already forgot. Kong. And they're outside and there's a little like picnic table and you just, they're like, what's going on between like you and my brother? And he's like, I think I like him. And they're like, you like Yotha? And next thing you know, Yotha like comes up behind him. Like, you like me? And like this man like kind of, you could see like they were all panicking now. They were all like, oh crap. And then this is also after he had done the test thing, right? To see if he did. And that's what made them say it out loud. I take that back. That's why they said it out loud, is because the resorts came through and it turned out that he ended up liking him. And so they ended up going back to the dorm and whatnot. And they're doing, they talk about the little test and whatnot. The entire time, Yotha, for the most part, is taking the test through Gun as he's reading off the things. You cannot convince me this man wasn't consciously and sometimes unconsciously flirting his butt off with Gun.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt.
Both in the way he said his words and the physical actions were insane. I was watching like, oh my god, I need you to calm down. And then if I'm correct, is this not also the same scene? Because I was going to get to this scene, but I think this was also where it happened, where Gun's like, you know what? Let's both get over our phobias, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and Yoda's like, okay, you want me to fall in love with someone? Because like that's his fear, is love, while the other one is like just being able to sleep in the dark. And he's like, okay, but like with who? You? And he comes like, kind of like, I don't mean it like that. And Yoda's like, okay, and like he gets up in his face again. Riz, like how is this man having to consider if he liked Gun? Like, I get it. In course, his trauma. Like, I get why it happened. But, like, this man gets up in his face and he's like, okay, then the person who makes me fall, like, helps me get over my phobia has to be responsible. I'm just like...
It's wild.
I was like, whoa! Whoa! That was wild. And so funny at the same time. I will say, this man might have struggled to see if he fell for Gun, but when he realized he did, man fell hard.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So hard.
Yes.
And I am obsessed with that. But I love their story. But like I said, I kind of wish, because like they make that bet though, but we see more of Yotha getting over his phobia and hardly anything of Gun's phobia. We focus so heavily on Yotha's that his phobia doesn't get fixed or even attempted to truly get fixed until after Yotha's conquered his and they're together.
And then it's kind of presented as, oh, love is the answer. Love can cure all, which is incorrect. Go to therapy.
That's wild. That's a wild thing to say. But you're right. You're right. Absolutely right.
You know, everyone in this series, primarily the last four
Yes.
of the main couples, could really benefit from some therapy.
For sure.
Ark and Arm may be okay, but all of the others could really benefit from some.
Yes, for sure. But like moving on from Yotha and Gun, we then go into Faifa.
And why?
Go into Faifa
and Wine. Which is very fun.
Also love them. Oh my gosh.
Honestly, I'm obsessed with the way Faifa's name means electricity and he's in electrical engineering, and then Wine promised in just at the shrine that he would change his name to engineering essentially if he got into the university.
Yeah.
Hilarious. It's wild.
Something that I would have loved to have been addressed is that it never got pointed out that the reason why he promised to change his name is because he overheard Faifa running by saying that.
Yeah.
And he accidentally said it. And that's never been brought forth that it was technically because of Faifa.
Which is adorable, hilarious, tied up in a little bow.
But it's like the Arc Arm thing in the Cute Boy page.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be fair, it's a lot more difficult than the Cute Boy page thing to track down.
Yeah.
Because to be able to pinpoint that point in time for anyone, because they didn't technically run into each other and there's no recording of them doing so in any form.
And it was before they met.
Mm-hmm. So there was technically no way for that to necessarily get brought back up, per se. Because while Wine has a memory of being in front of that shrine and stuff, I highly doubt Faifa is going to have a random memory of running by a shrine and someone praying at it and being like, and saying, engineering.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a chance it's going to probably come back. But somehow it would have been nice. Somehow.
Yeah. We're focusing more in on story for them.
I like that for theirs, it's interesting because it's almost kind of a fake date trope.
Essentially, yeah.
I don't know if it really fully was, because it wasn't because they weren't dating per se. It was all practice things. I will say I do love that Wine 100%, both of them had attraction to each other.
Yeah.
Very early on. But Wine 100%, what you could tell, was not agreed to any of that fake dating stuff for his tour.
Oh, absolutely not.
100% for Faifa. He even admits it towards the end. The only reason he even did that, and the reason why he would leave the notebook so that there wasn't a limit on how many times they did things, was to make sure that they kept doing it. And that was so precious. And poor Faifa, though, on the other hand, is just I will admit, though, they both suffered through a lot. And I'm not going to go that too much because I kind of want to bring that back up in the character part. But, poor man did get put through the ringer just a little bit.
Absolutely.
Because of the fact that he didn't know that Wine was doing all of this dating thing just say around him.
Yeah. And
backing up a little bit, I also love how, story plot wise, I like how they're introduced. And I forgot to bring this up towards the beginning, but one of my favorite things I'm obsessed with this series as ensemble. Ensembles can get boring pretty easily depending on how they're arranged. And what's interesting about this one is either an ensemble can get boring because maybe we flip around way too much. Maybe there's too many people and maybe the timing's all weird for it. Or we stay too attached to one couple for so long and maybe the story's not developed well enough and before moving on to the next one. This one I think was written really well. And the timing for everything was really nice. But one of my favorite things about it that made it flow even better was that we get introduced immediately. Instead of jumping into like the first couple, which was Arc and Arm, we actually get introduced to Wine becoming a perfect 10-liner, and then him getting like the thing passed on where Yotha had to go on stage, and like, from the middle couple, because out of the three, the second couple, one of the second couple ones putting like the little thing around his neck and be like, yeah, this is all I have for you. And then him having to go to like the little party where he ends up learning about the perfect 10-liners, where we get Ack and Arm. And then of course we had a little moment where he like looks at Yotha, and they're like, oh, not Yotha, he's taken. So like, it's like, that's not going to play out. And like his boyfriend shows up, Gun shows up, and then Faifa shows up. But like, it also goes into the lore starts developing and getting told about the perfect 10-liners, because this is where Wine's like, how did you, talking to Arm, is like, how did you and Arc get together? And then we go back in time. And then what I was even more obsessed with is that every once in a while, while in the stage of Arc and Arm's story, it would pull out a little bit and go back to the time of Wine's to the present, to where Wine is still getting a tour, or maybe it's a few days in to him starting university. And I think it was just the same day, if I'm correct.
I think so.
And one of them is when he gets pulled back, and again, he gets left with Faifa, and Yotha is like reluctantly gives him up. Because he's like, I don't know if I can trust my brother to a certain extent.
Obsessed. That was hilarious.
It was, and even more so that it was interesting to watch, because I was kind of confused, because it's nowhere in the description that Faifa knew Wine beforehand. That's not introduced until a little bit later. In fact, I don't think that's introduced until maybe Yotha's story, until the second couple story. So I was actually confused when there were sentences like, because like there's a moment that we get in that conversation where like, because we actually get one of their scenes far before we hit Faifa and Wine's moments, back in, I think, Arc and Arm's ones, and that's where he was asking about how he looks like he has something on his mind, that Wine has something on his mind, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm right, and that scene comes into play back in their story, but which is very interesting. But I like how we jump back to the present, and like, for example, we get to like the bench scene where, just like how it ended in the previous episode, where was it Tongfa?
Yes.
Sits up and is like, and we get to learn about his, what were they called? His partner or whatever. Yeah, his buddy from a different university, and it ends up being played by C, which is crazy. But he like pops up, but just like how he popped up in the present time, Arm pops up, and he somehow brings in Tongfai, like, you want to hear the story while I'm waiting on my boyfriend to show up and whatnot. And his boyfriend ends up showing up before he gets to talk about it, and then they get home, and then that scene ends with him like, oh, how did all that play out and stuff like that. And so like we dive a little bit back into their story, and that's very fascinating. And I loved how it went, because then we catch up to Arc and Arm's time, or we catch up to, Yotha and Faifa coming into, and Gun, all coming into school, which is a year after Arc and Arms. Because like we jump a whole year in their own arc as it is, in like the last 2 episodes or so. And we get a little bit of theirs, because like I don't think they had dated yet, actually, ironically, until
they got together in their second year, in Arm's second year.
So yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is I don't think they fully got together until that year gap. And he ends up moving off campus and living with them. And what I loved is that instead of doing this flipping back and forth that we were already doing in the presents, we kept rolling to a certain degree, because at that point you're not to the present, you're 1 year off, but you're like, there's no need to fully do a jump back and forth per se, because now Wine, due to the fact that this is where we learned that he already knew Faifa, in a high school.
Mhm.
So therefore, he can be introduced without the need of going back to the presents, and I kind of liked that. And
Yes,
now we kind
I
of caught
agree.
up with the timeline, so now we can introduce little parts of wine like we have been doing using the presents back in Arc and Arm, but instead we just continue rolling, and I kind of liked that.
I agree.
And I don't know, it was a really cool way of messing around with a little bit with how the story's told with the timeline.
Yeah,
And I love how they did that.
100%, yes. Absolutely.
I was obsessed when I realized, because I think it took, I think one, I already really liked how it was telling it as we were in Arc and Arm, but became even more obsessed as we were starting to go through Yotas and Guns, and I realized what was happening with Wine and Faifa, because we get Wine and Faifa during their arc, just not majorly. We just
Mhm.
get pieces of him, like in high school when Faifa runs into him, and like with the drink thing, or when he was like, gives him like the vouch thing, and like, and Wine's like, if I make it into the university, we'll come back here and, and that's when I'll cash in.
Redeem it together.
Yeah, which actually, I don't know if he originally was the one that said it together or Fafa was like, okay, but when you do, let me know because I want to be the first person, kind of thing. And I want to be here. You wouldn't do that.
We congratulate you. Yeah.
Yeah, which was really cute. And so we get some of their
Adorable.
moments mixed in with Yota and Guns, which makes sense because
Mhm.
Um, because back in Arc and Arms, we get a side couple attached to them.
Pond and sand.
Yeah. And then in this one, technically we get two side couples because we do get Wa and Cow.
Clow, yeah.
So, but we also get the addition with having a little bit of Wine and Faifa mixed in, a little bit in between.
Mhm.
It's just not a main focus like Wa
Yeah.
and Clow. Which, granted, I don't think either one of them, which makes sense because I don't think either one of them came on as strong as the first side couple did, which was kind of balanced out,
Mhm.
dealing with two, but focusing a
Yeah.
little bit more on, like I said, Clow and Wa, which is throwing in the other two just a little bit occasionally. And I really enjoyed that. I really love the storytelling for this one. I feel like I definitely don't watch as many ensemble shows as Cyrus likes to watch ensemble shows.
I get excited when I see an ensemble show, like, fall up in a lineup.
Like, don't get me wrong, I like them. I think out of the ones that I have seen that I like the watching the most, ironically, it's the ones told like this, where it's one couple followed by another couple instead of going back and forth. Because I feel like if it's a back and forth thing, I kind of start like comparing a little bit, and I'm like, I like this couple over this couple, which I do even with the one, but at least we get a whole focus on a couple before moving on to the
Mhm.
next one. And yes, I feel sad when I know one couple's coming to an end, I have to start another one, but I get excited for the new one. So therefore, I kind of like this arrangement style of ensemble.
Honestly, I would agree. I like the, serial type of ensembles.
Mm-hmm. You like a
Even
mix.
though I like both, and it depends on how they're dealt. Because like, if you get a
Mm.
mixed bag ensemble that's written really well, it's so good. But I feel like they're harder to write.
Yeah, that's true. Having explored drama deep dive, let's shine a light on character constellations where new stars await.
By mapping out character constellations, we chart the growth of our favorite characters, exploring how they shine brighter over time, evolve, and form unique constellations with the characters around them.
Trauma.
Sparkle, sparkle.
We got a lot of that. More so though in the later two,
Hmm.
for sure. Like I feel like I could go on forever about the twins, the Irish twins, the brothers.
And trust me, she has. Y'all just don't know. This
I
is all I've heard
have.
about for weeks. For weeks.
I was so mad. I was so mad about the mother. Like normally, look,
Same.
normally I don't think too hard about like redemption for parents. But for some reason, the behavior of this mother really irked me. Like I was like, what? The audacity of this woman. Because like what got me for starters is her excuse. Her excuse that she had for Yota and why
Yeah.
she chose Papai when she left. And That blows my mind because, for starters, one, it's an awful excuse. Two, you said that excuse while trying to comfort your favorite, let's be real. Also broke the heart of literally the one you took, too.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you could tell that Faifa absolutely knew his mother loved Yotha more than him. And to the point that
Yes.
there's a whole scene where, before that confrontation where she tries to come clean to Yotha, and it's supposed to be quote unquote a redemption arc for her, but also a way to, like, for Yotha to overcome his situation, which is unfortunate that it helped him, but, like, I do understand why he accepted that.
Yeah.
Because for him, that made him think that, oh, he was abandoned, but in reality, she did that for other motives, and it wasn't because of abandonment, it was because of, like, that she didn't love him any less, which is wild because, like, back to what I was saying, there's a whole scene. I felt the worst for Faifa, to be honest. Out of both of the
Oh,
brothers,
absolutely.
it was Faifa, because I felt like he went, I personally think that he went through way more trauma than Yotha did. That Yotha went through the trauma, yes, because he shut himself off, like, love-wise, and had a hard time there, which never should I say you should compare traumas.
I agree, but in fiction, reins are a little loosened.
Okay, sure, we'll say that then. Then I will say Faifa, I feel like, was deeper, because poor Faifa goes through, like, there's a scene where his mom returns home, and it's just him, his dad, his mom, and she goes to fix him a glass of milk and tries to give it to him. And the dad's like, you must mistake him as Yotha because he can't drink milk. And
Faifa is allergic to cow's milk.
exactly. And poor Fafa's like, he's like, no, it's fine. That's fine. It's totally fine. And I'm like, because he's a pleaser. Like, he's not just a people pleaser. He's so desperate for this attention. Because what's so interesting about the dynamic between Yotha and Faifa and the trauma that his mother and everything, this whole divorce and everything has caused, was that Yotha shut off love. Faifa fought for love, which made him impossible for him to singly love someone. And what was so devastating was when she made her excuse and was trying to, like, be a redemption for Yotha and, like, help Yotha's situation, she straight up, in their faces, says that the reason why she chose Faifa is because Yotha loved her, and she feared that if she took Yotha, that she would not be asked to go see her other sons and her ex-husband. So she took Faifa, who loved his brothers and his dad, in hopes that he would ask to want to go see them. For freaking starters. For starters. You are a grown-ass adult. You do not need a child to tell you to go back and see your family. Like, I know you might have issues with your husband, but you do not need a child to be your goddamn excuse. Like, that made me so infuriated. I was so mad. I was like, that is an god-awful excuse. You, like I said, you're an adult. You can make that responsibility, and you can go back and see them. Like, I don't, because, like, her excuse clearly shows no signs that it was a financial problem. So, like, that means that's purely on you. So, therefore, why in the world would you feel like you have to use a child as an excuse? And then on top of that, you end up gaining a family in this new location and go, you know what? I'll send you back. And then you have now created a rift between this child and the people he used to love, to the point that he now has to completely be as loving as possible, or think that he has to be as loving to make sure he's not hated and that he's still accepted in a family he used to be accepted in.
Ooh. And it's so frustrating.
It made me so mad. And then on top of that, you just see his face the entire time. And she's like, and I hated that scene because, like, she was telling this excuse to all of them, quotation mark, like, especially to Yotha, but she turns and, like, tries to hug Faifa, like, oh, it's okay, and stuff like that. I'm like, don't fucking touch your son. Like, that's not an excuse. And, like, you see his face, he's quote unquote pretending to be happy, but we know from his facial expressions he's absorbing all of this, and it is so painful. But everyone's like, oh, they hug it out, whatever, she calls Gun, and I'm like, that's not an excuse. to what you have just done to your children, especially to Faifa, because
Yeah, and it comes back around because
yes,
in Faifa's story, it turns out like it becomes another issue of like that wasn't resolved because I still feel
mm-hmm.
this. Oh, can't even like explain it. It makes me so upset.
And to me, I still feel like we do not get a good resolution for him as well. Like, it was
I agree.
so brushed over. Like, yes, we have a little
Hmm.
scene where they're sitting at a table and this man is like having to listen to his mother re-explain everything and be like, you never should have felt that way. And I'm sorry you felt that way, that you thought that you were any less than Yotha. Because like he makes a comment, he's just like, I just want to be at least half of the love that you give
Hmm.
Yotha. And that's so sad. But like,
Yeah.
the reaction we get out of it is this man is just staring down, and like I still don't think that was resolved. Like emotionally, that
Hmm.
never would have been resolved that easily. There's no way all that trauma got healed in that moment. But they pretend it did.
Hmm.
That blew my mind. That made me so mad.
As someone who has a very tumultuous relationship, quote unquote, honestly a non-relationship with my own mother, absolutely not. If my mom decided to come back after at this point so many years without seeing her, even talking to her, and said essentially like the speech that Faifa and Yota's mom gave them,
Mm-mm.
my emotions and my feelings would be the same
Mm-hmm.
as right now. That would do nothing to begin to repair the bond
Mm-mm.
because what the fuck?
I was so mad about that. We brushed over that. And I hated that no one else, because like she made, I hated her excuse even for Fafa's thing, where she's like,
Mhm.
you think you're good at hiding your emotions, but in reality, we all know you're upset. That's freaking BS.
Yeah,
It
he went
took,
years.
yes, and it took Wine making a comment to Gun saying that, yeah,
Mhm.
um, he's not happy.
Faifa's not happy.
And
Like he hasn't been happy.
and Gun's reaction was like, "What?" Like he was shocked to have learned that. And
Mhm.
and then it took Gun to go and dig up things about the past that we don't know because we don't see the scene to the mother for her to even have this conversation. Makes me
Yeah.
so mad. Because no, you did not
But then
realize
phrase it of like,
that he was
"Oh,
unhappy.
I've known all along."
There's no
Bullshit.
way. Because I know she tried
No
to,
way.
I do think she did try to say that it was because she tried to avoid the situation, even though she realized it. And even if she did, that is like, unfortunately, that's very human to have avoided
Mhm.
that, even if she had noticed it. But that still is just so awful. Like I know in reality, yeah, if she had noticed and she was telling the truth, and that she was just avoiding it because she didn't know how to handle that, and it took Gun to being like, you should try better, you know? It's still not an excuse in my feeling. And it never should have brushed over that quickly.
100% agree. And like my biggest thing is if you had realized and like didn't want to make like the confrontation of this big whole thing of it, there's one thing that is such an easy fix
Mm-hmm.
that would have made Fafa feel so much more secure in his place. And that is simply making sure that he's not the last person to know
But he was
anything.
always.
But he was always the last to know. Even like after like the confrontation in Yota's story where he makes it like clear that like that bothers him. It
Mm-hmm.
continues to be an issue even into his story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so fucked up because it's so simple.
And what gets me, he was also the last to know, which is fair because it was a confrontation. But everyone at that table knew that confrontation was going to happen,
Yeah.
which still makes him the last to know.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, it's fucked.
oh, big time. What happened with Fafa really made me mad.
Oh, I agree.
But I will say, story plot wise, like, oh, that's such a well written, well, minus the
Hmm.
resolution for the mother, well written character to have this type of trauma. It's such a deep type of trauma that I really love it.
Hmm.
I like that we get some deep representation of traumas.
With Fifa specifically, I think Junior did a really good job at portraying just like what that like trauma would like manifest as
Mm-hmm.
in like the subtleties of his expressions.
Yeah,
I think they were done really well. And a lot of care went into portraying it in a honest feel.
I agree.
We've journeyed through drama deep dive and character constellations, but now let's explore secondary stars for one last perspective.
Not all stars shine in the spotlight. Some twinkle quietly in the background, stealing hearts and adding depth. Let's talk about the side couples and characters who bring their own brand of magic to the drama in secondary stars.
There are literally so many familiar faces in this show. And like I'm usually the one who like mentions like side characters or like people like actors who play side characters like during like the cast and crew little talk, but like I was like there was too many that I like wanted to bring up that I was like I just have to like include a segment where can talk about nothing but them
Mm-hmm.
because there's simply too many of them. Like this is like my bread and butter, so like this was like just gonna be me.
I mean, I loved all the side couples, and oh my god, I loved seeing people I knew in this as side couples and not couples, but like couples and characters, and getting to see so many people I recognized.
Hmm.
But this is definitely something that I know you'd love to talk about, and I may have talked way too much previously, so feel free to have your fun with this.
I'm so excited. Like, cause like out of like the like side like couples, like we get Mark Poon, which love. They're so cute. And that's Mark with a C, not Mark with a K. Who
Who we had a conversation once where I went to talk about Mark, and I was talking about the K. You thought I was talking
and
about
I was
C.
with the C.
And I was like, no, wrong person.
Like we were both confused. And that's okay. And like this is like their second ensemble cast that they've like played into, which is fun. Honestly, same thing for Album, because both Mark Poon and Alan Boom were both couples in We Are. But like Mark and Poon, who play Pond and Sand in the first story, very cute. I feel like I don't have much to say about them specifically, but they were cute. I enjoyed them. They like pop up throughout the rest of the series as well. But Alan Boom, oh my babies, I love them. And play Wah and Clow. Clow's a little hothead, and to put it lightly,
Bro, like, started so many fires with Yotha just for existing and having
just
history
existing.
with Wa. It was crazy.
Even to the point like where like they like work it out and like Claw Clow like does chill out a little bit when like Gun comes around and it becomes apparent that like there's like literally no one else for Utah ever. But even like beyond that in like the last episode like even to the last episode like they still joke around of like well Clow's asking me to like have a conversation with him alone like might as well get ready to patch up like my
Yes!
wounds.
That was
Like Gun, get
hilarious.
ready.
That was hilarious because Wa was concerned. Well, both Gun and Wa was concerned, but like
Hmm.
they're over here kind of making it look like they're fixing to go in a fight. Acting dumb. And that was so funny because like I said, Yota, who typically I would think is a jokester, but he's like, yeah, prepare the first aid kit.
Hilarious. And so like honestly, it makes sense within their dynamic. It like I can see how we got from point A to point B. Like those were like the two like made like major side couples that weren't in like the main trio. Technically we get Emmy and Fluke as well, but they were established in the beginning and are just kind of in the background as we go along, which I love for them. They're stable, they're chill. It is wild to see Emmy play a straight woman
I had a feeling you were fixing to say that.
because I this was airing at the same time Us was airing or was airing. Like Emmy is one of the main couples in that GL Us. So it was wild, but love her. Love another short-haired baddie.
She was
She's
so
great. I love
cute.
her. She's so precious. I love her. Then, quick little run. We get JJ. We get my sweet baby Gawain, who I know, like while this was airing, also had another has another airing series.
I had the hardest time seeing Gawain in Perfect 10 Liners and him being like a mentor like character. And then flipping over to My Golden Blood, and this man is like,
Is an idiot.
yes, for better or worse words. Like, I was like, what is going on? It's such different dynamics.
And like they're both set in college. Like in both series, Gawain plays a college student, but visually,
Yeah.
Perfect 10 Liners, like visually, it works. Like no problem. We switch over to My Golden Blood, and this man looks 20 years older than what he should be.
Whoa.
20's a stretch.
I'm fixing to say
But
someone's gonna come for you on that one. That's a bit of a stretch.
I'm being hyperbolic for like clarity.
Yeah.
But he looks so much older in that series, in My Golden Blood, even though they're both college students.
Mm-hmm.
So that was wild. That's weird. But there's Drake, there's Ern, my sweet baby Pepper. I saw the profile of this man the first the first time he's introduced, and I'm like, that's Pepper. That's my sweet baby. And like, I'm not going too deep into his character because like the sake of time, but that boy is definitely the glass sibling because like he's overlooked constantly.
Yeah. He really
Like
was.
he's just there, like even in like the but either confrontation between their mother and the boys. Is just in the corner, like not being acknowledged, and I'm like, it's okay, my sweet baby, I see you. We also get Ford. It's been a while since I've seen him. Title Louis. Was a wild introduction for me.
I feel like for some weird reason, both Louis and Neo, though Neo's not in this series, are
Mhm.
just they always feel weird or wild to see in a series for some unknown reason. But I'll see them in a series
I
and I'm like,
agree. I'm
why
like,
are you
what are
here?
you doing here?
In a good way.
In a absolutely in the best way possible. But like seeing like Louis just pop up in this series in like the last arc, and just the first time he's introduced is just like calling Faifa Electric Boy. Hilarious. I was obsessed. It was so funny to me. And he continues to do it. Like I brought up We Are earlier. So we also get T in this series who played Mick in We Are. We also get Tally, not Tally. We talked about him earlier. That's not who I meant to say. We get Tay. Tay's in this series. Wild. And like we mentioned C earlier as Tongfa. That was a fun time for me. And like because we get this his entire arc, and like it seems like he is like flirting a little bit with Arm, but like when he's about to go and get on the bus to go back to his university, like it
Yes.
turns out that he is like, oh, like I have a partner. He's a medical student, so he didn't come to the engineering uh
Dr.
basically
Jimmy!
student swap. And I was like, and he was like, and I was like, is that a reference to Dr. Jimmy? If so, obsessed.
Absolutely. I immediately was like,
Absolutely
that's
obsessed.
gotta be a reference to Dr. Jimmy.
I love. And then the last person like like want to bring up is Nixie did tell me when like she was watching this that Ohm of previously of Ohm Fluke shows up in this series, and I was like, that's interesting because keep forgetting that he is now a GMM TV actor, and frankly, I forgot. So when he shows up again as Tor in Faifa and Wine's story, was wild. I was like, what are you doing here? Oh, wait, I do remember that you were supposed to be here. So that was wild. All the familiar faces in this series were a lot of fun for me, but for the sake of we need to be moving on, that's what I'll leave it as. I could go on for days.
It was a lot of fun to see all of these familiar faces. As we prepare to leave the stars behind, let's gather the stardust of our experience and share our final reflections on Perfect 10-liners. I left something out that I meant to say earlier. And it wasn't until Cyrus was talking about the characters and stuff like that in the last section that I remembered it. And I was like, I've got to bring this up. And I don't know why it was in the last section that I remembered it, but I did. And that was, one, not gonna lie, Santa and Perth was not on my bingo card. Like, I don't know why. That's a crazy combo, but it works so well. I wasn't skeptical at all. Like, I was excited for it. I just didn't expect it to play out as well as it did. And somehow I really think Santa did a really good job for his character. Like, I don't doubt Perth did a good job because it lined very well with what he's done previously. But for Santa, I mean, yes, he's played silly characters before, but this is like, I feel like way more over the top than his previous ones.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of different for him. But I was excited and he did a good job. Second, I want to talk about, and the most important thing that I remembered, and that was I was obsessed with the fact that Gun's character, that was played by Santa, had his own sound effect. Because for starters, he got called Beagle by Yotha. So he got referred to a lot as a dog. And on top of that, the sound effect that they would give this man was a squeaky toy. And
it's immediate.
Yes.
Even before the Beagle nickname starts, it's immediate.
Like I was so obsessed. Like, there's literally a whole scene where the squeaky noise is like used so many times. Like it's used so much. There's a scene where like Faifa had brought wine home late, and apparently Yotha comes up to catch him, and it's just Faifa. Wine's already gone, separate, and like he gets caught, and immediately Faifa tries to turn around and run away, but Yotha grabs him by his shirt, pulls him back, and then Yotha goes, "Oh my god, what's that?" And then like Yotha, no reaction at all. Squeaky boy looks, and you get a squeak as he looks away.
Squeaky boy.
As he looks away. And like there's also another scene prior to that one where apparently poor Yotha gets told by, I don't remember, I think by Faifa, that Gun was sad and upset, and because they didn't get a mentor, him and his group, or sorry, a mentee or whatever in their little group. And so he panics, leaves Wine with Faifa, and he goes and he runs, and like throughout that entire scene where he re-encounters, with Gun, and him poking he's kissing his little cheeks and whatnot, or like checking on him and everything, squeaky noises, like touching, just
it's so
half
cute.
the time, I swear to God, just touching Gun provoked a squeaky noise. And I was like, wow.
It's excessive, but the right kind of excessive. Like, they use it so much, and was honestly the best decision.
It was, and I was obsessed with it. I loved that. And if anyone else had it, I don't think I picked up on it as clearly as Gun's.
I agree.
Now, moving on to our final thoughts, because I just wanted to express that. I have to say, such a cute series. I ended up way more obsessed with it than I expected, and I'm going to be crystal clear. This series we picked to do for a series satellite, but ironically, because of the episode count, like I've watched long stuff before. Clearly, like my weeks are typically shanchas and stuff, like so Chinese dramas, and they're like really long. But something about a BL being double the length it normally is, which 100% down for. I'm always down for, but also having other stuff to watch to do for series satellites and stuff like for other weeks, all of a sudden felt so long that we
put this off for so long.
We're dreading this. And then I started it, and then I was obsessed. This was so cute. I am glad I did wait until I think I watched it the second to last episode had aired, and I'm kind of glad I did, because that allowed me, between my work and everything else, to catch up to it and like only have to wait like a day before the final episode got released. And So I was able to watch and go through it, pretty smoothly because of that. But I enjoyed it way more than I had expected to. Like, I don't know what my expectations were, but I was dreading it in the sense of, like, we needed to do it because we were like, I kind of, like, wanted to do it over this, even though we say that like it was a task. And since, like we didn't want to watch Perfect 10, like, we wanted to. Like, it's been on our list for a while.
Mm-hmm. Since it started airing, basically.
Yeah, and that's why we wanted to do an episode over it. We knew we wanted to, but I think because of everything else just piled on top of it, it just all of a sudden the weight of it just felt like a lot. So I'm just so relieved that it ended up being as good as marvelous as it came out to be.
Like, I do think that having it broke down into kind of like 3 8-episode kind of story arcs helped a lot in that regard.
Sure. So I really enjoyed that.
It is kind of wild to think that this show took literally half a year to finish airing, though. That's wild.
It is. It really is.
That's insane. But, I think if it was shorter, we would have, like, a lot of things would have to be cut, and I think the way it was set up and the emphasis that was put on everything, the episode count was justified.
For sure. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Stars Align Dramas and Dreams podcast, where we meet amongst the stars that illuminate the love stories that light up our universe and connect us all.
If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, and share your stardust and thoughts with us. We'd love to hear your comments, favorite moments, or suggestions for what we should explore next.
You can connect with us in the comments or through our socials, as well as our email that are linked in the description. Let's keep the conversation going under the stars.
Until next time, keep dreaming, keep listening, and remember, love always shines brightest in the cosmos.
Bye!